Hi, my name is Lisa.
Hi, I'm Reina, and today we're presenting on the swine flu vaccine as a news vendor model. Next slide, please. So, the overlying premise is that in 2009, the H1N1 or swine flu was rampant in Southeast Asia, Southern Asia, and parts of North America, including the United States. For about 2 to 3 months in fall of 2019, the vaccine was available in very limited supply, and priority was given to healthcare workers, young children, pregnant women, and those with compromised immune systems. So, ordering the vaccine, whether it was the prioritized or the standard flu, became very complicated and it could be modeled as a news vendor problem. Next slide. So, the overall aim of the news vendor problem is to ensure that maximal profit is achieved by determining the optimal order quantity of products or services. In this case, we want to efficiently order and distribute vaccines to targeted populations before moving on to the wider public, while encountering the least amount of unused disposed vaccines. Next slide, please. So the limitations and variables which model the situation into a news vendor problem are as such. Of course, our decision variable, or the unknown for that is being optimized, is the quantity of vaccines to order beforehand. This depends on demand, which in our case is extremely random or stochastic, such because of factors such as the spread of a virus creating mass panic, as that can happen unexpectedly, and this would significantly increase demand. We also have to account for factors such as holding costs, which are basically costs that a business pays for when holding inventory in stock. For example, as referenced in our first bibliography source, is for vaccines, you have to hold them at a certain temperature. So that is very critical. Otherwise, they become useless, frankly, as such with the COVID vaccine, additionally. And we also have ordering costs, which are basically expenses that are incurred when you submit a when you submit an order to the supplier. So as time passes and suddenly you need another order of vaccines quickly, that ordering cost can increase because of the short notice. Similarly, we have understock costs because suddenly when you're having to distribute vaccines at such a large scale very quickly, there are costs associated with getting the vaccines distributed and paying the workers to do so. Next slide, please.
So before I go into the complications, I would like to show like how the news vendor problem is applicable to the vaccine industry. So we have the decision variable, so that's what we're trying to optimize. So in this case, it's the quantity of doses to order. And then we have the demand. So what can end up affecting the demand is other um, there's several different factors that can affect the demand or variables, but the government usually has data over like past flus or viruses, and they're able to predict a model that can optimally show what the American public will desire despite different time interruptions or like when people panic, when people don't. And then you have the holding costs, which is like Reina mentioned, like for example, fixing it at a stored temperature. Then you have the ordering cost, so that's how much the government will have to order from like certain drug companies, and there can be various ones who are offering it. And the understock cost, which is like the shortage, so how much longer it would take for the rest of the population to get vaccinated. So what makes it really more complicated is really the overstock cost or the holding cost. So it's more complicated than a typical news vendor problem because we have to take into account which groups deserve priority. So while we do have the understock costs, which are all very, very similar to other news vendor problems, what matters is with overstock costs, that essentially becomes our leftovers and what's going to be used for stagnant, like stagnating prioritization, because as we mentioned earlier, like pregnant women, people with immune compromised systems, immune compromised systems, they get priority over everyone else. But with staggering it with the rest of the population, it ends up affecting other groups differently. So they have to keep reusing different concepts of the news vendor problem in order to get the most amount of people vaccinated. And here are our sources.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you for watching.
Okay. Stop the recording.